he wanted to be a literary young man. He wanted to write. And so he came back from Paris and settled in New York. And at that point, he got a camera and he started photographing around New York. And the first photographs that I know that he did are little teeny tiny photographs that are done of skyscrapers, and sometimes I think along the Brooklyn Navy Yards, because that's where he lived. And they're very constructivist and a little angled for Walker Evans, so you think he has a kind of slightly arty pretension, but they're quite sharp and very beautiful. No people in them at all. His first sort of serious job that he really works on a little bit as a photographer, he works on with a man named Lincoln Kirstein. And one of the things that they are interested in together is Victorian architecture. So, Kirstein and Walker Evans make these road trips together through New England, taking pictures of Victorian architecture. And it's just they're very, very beautiful, interesting photographs, and they are published in Hound and Horn. And Lincoln comes to New York and joins the staff of the Museum of Modern Art, and one of Lincoln's first jobs is to be a curator of photography and to say to the modern, listen, photography is a great art in the 20th century and you must have a department, and I think there should be exhibitions, and one of the first people he puts forth for an exhibition is Walker Evans. So Walker Evans does a show of his photographs at the Museum of Modern Art in the early years. The museum is founded in 29, so we're talking about, early in the museum's history, 1929. There is this Walker Evans show of photographs, and I think dates I'm not too sure of, but I think that proceeds or comes at the same time as he begins to work on the FSA. It's all happening within that decade. But Kirstein's exhibition and the book that he publishes to go with the exhibition, which is called American Photography, makes Walker Evans really prominent. They are just beautiful pictures of urban life, architecture, and so on. And so Walker Evans is a well-known photographer. The country goes into a depression, and there are all these out-of-work artists, and there are these terrible situations of poverty that are going on around in the United States. And so there's an idea that comes through our national government that there should be some photographic survey of the conditions of the country, and Walker Evans is hired by this organization. The work that he does that's most famous was done for the Farm Security Administration, but most of it involves him going on these trips to the South and recording urban poverty and the way the towns looked at that time. So he does a body of extraordinary work. He sends, and he's just a field worker. He works very intuitively, he works all by himself, and he sends the pictures that he takes back to Washington, and that's his career, that's his life, and that's really the great Walker Evans that we know are these photographs that he takes for the FSA. A branch of that experience results in Let Us Now Praise Famous Men, which is a collaboration with the writer James Agee, who also, I'm not sure whether it's for the FSA or not, but he embarks on this this mission of writing about these poverty-stricken families in the South, and he engages Walker Evans, and they go and visit this family and record the life of that family in a very intimate way. And out of that comes Walker Evans' most famous work of the 30s that is published in this book with Agee's prose. The prose is very powerful. The two men had amazingly powerful reactions to what they saw, and Agee thought very highly of the photography, so it has a very, very important place within the book. It's not just the written word. The photographs are very, very important. So, and Evans has other projects that don't involve the South, like he goes to Cuba and does a similar book about Cuba, but it doesn't have the impact of this Let Us Now Praise Famous Men, which becomes this incredible, moving classic, both visually and in a literary way. Walker Evans doesn't go in and just get bowled over by the abject quality of these people that he's taking photographs of. He finds this beauty both in them as individuals and in the extreme simplicity that their poverty entails. Now, they didn't like having such a simple, austere living quarters. The way they lived was the result of a terrifically hard life. But Evans somehow sees it as if it had this kind of almost this classical virtue, and so he's never condescending to the subjects. If anything, he's ennobling to them, and yet it never falls in to what we think of as documentary photography, where he's making a case about simplicity and purity and poverty and so on. It's just has this, as everyone says about Evans' work at this moment, it's detached, it's crisp, it's almost objective. And so I guess I've always been personally moved by the austerity of it, and by the poignancy. Somehow the austerity of it brings on a certain amount of poignancy, huge amount of poignancy. And the great beauty of this simplicity is the spareness, the way he saw that. And then, there's his craft. There's this taking pictures in the perfect light, the clarity, the crispness. There's never anything soft about his work. It's chiseled by light.